You read more than anyone you know. Newsletters, podcasts, articles, books, summaries of books, summaries of summaries. And yet you are not ahead. You are drowning. Information is supposed to be power. That's what they told you. That's what you believe. That's why you consume it every waking hour. But the people actually winning, the ones with the leverage, the clarity, the moves, they are not consuming more than you. They are consuming less, and they are doing it with surgical precision. Today, Dr. Hoot is going to show you exactly how the top 1% treat information and why your current approach is making you slower, not smarter. This is not about reading faster. This is not about better note-taking apps. This is about a fundamental rewiring of how you decide what enters your mind. The average professional processes the equivalent of 174 newspapers worth of information every single day. 174 newspapers every day. And the research is unambiguous. More information does not produce better decisions. Past a certain threshold, it produces worse ones. This phenomenon has a name. Psychologists call it information overload. But that term is too gentle, too forgiving. Call it what it actually is. Cognitive pollution. Your brain is not a hard drive. It is not designed to store and retrieve data efficiently under unlimited input. It is designed to pattern match, to predict, to act. Every piece of noise you consume is not neutral. It costs you. It costs you working memory. It costs you decision bandwidth. It costs you the mental clarity required to produce original thought. And here is the mechanism. Nobody talks about consuming information. Feels like working. It triggers the same dopamine pathways as actual productive behavior. Your brain cannot tell the difference between learning something and doing something. So you feel accomplished. You feel informed. You feel like you are preparing. You are sedating yourself with the illusion of progress. The top 1% figured this out, and they built a system, a brutal, unsentimental system for filtering reality. Dr. Hoot calls it information laundering, not because it is criminal, because it is ruthless. You take the raw, contaminated flood of incoming data, and you run it through a series of filters until only pure, actionable signal remains. Here is where smart people fail, and exactly how they fail. Pattern 1. The completeness trap. You feel compelled to finish things. Articles, threads, reports, books you started 3 years ago. There is a name for this. The Zeigarnik effect. Your brain fixates on incomplete tasks. It keeps them active in working memory, burning cognitive fuel, until they are resolved. Combine that with the sunk cost fallacy, the irrational need to justify time already spent, and you get a professional who cannot stop reading a useless article because they already read 4 paragraphs of it. Here is your Counter-Move Institute, a 2-minute rule for every new piece of content. 2 minutes. If it has not delivered a specific, actionable insight by then, you close it permanently. No guilt. No return. Incompleteness is not failure. It is filtration. The most expensive thing you own is your attention, and you are handing it out like a flyer. Pattern 2. The novelty addiction. Your brain is wired for novelty. New stimulus triggers dopamine release. This was adaptive when novelty meant food or danger. In the information age, it means you are neurologically incentivized to chase the new thing, the breaking story, the emerging trend, the hot take over the durable, compounding knowledge that actually builds leverage. News is the most efficient delivery vehicle for this addiction. It is engineered to feel urgent and important. It is, almost universally, neither. A study by Nassim Taleb's work on information and noise quantifies this directly. The signal-to-noise ratio in daily news is approximately 1%. You consume 100 units of noise to extract 1 unit of signal. And that 1 unit of signal? You could have gotten it in 3 minutes at the end of the week. Your counter-move. Build a news latency buffer. Do not consume any breaking news within 72 hours of its occurrence. If it still matters on day 4, it was signal. If it dissolved, it was noise. You just saved yourself 3 days of cortisol and 0 productive decisions. Pattern 3. The source promiscuity problem. Smart people are curious. Curiosity is a competitive advantage until it becomes source promiscuity. You subscribe to 40 newsletters. You follow 200 accounts. You have saved articles from 12 different domains of knowledge. What you have built is not a knowledge base. You have built a landfill with good intentions. The psychological mechanism here is the diversification heuristic. When uncertain about quality, we diversify quantity. It feels like hedging. It is actually a failure of judgment. The top 1% do the opposite. They go deep on a small number of ruthlessly vetted sources, and they strip the rest. Your counter move. Run a source audit every 90 days. For every information source you consume, ask one question. In the last 90 days, has this produced a specific decision or a specific action? If the answer is no, cut it, not reduce it. Cut it. You do not need more inputs. You need better ones. Pattern 4. The consumption-action inversion. Here is the ratio that exposes most intelligent professionals immediately. What percentage of the information you consume this week will produce a specific behavior change by next week? Be honest. The real answer for most people is under 5%. This is the consumption-action inversion. You spend the vast majority of your cognitive resources acquiring knowledge you will never deploy. There is a behavioral economics concept that explains why this persists. The planning fallacy, combined with optimism bias. You believe, at the moment of consumption, that you will act on this later. You will implement this framework. You will use this strategy. The future version of you is disciplined, organized, and ready. That version never shows up. Information without deployment deadline is entertainment. Your counter move. Before you consume anything substantive, a book, a long article, a course, write down one specific situation in your actual life where this information will change a decision within 30 days. If you cannot name one, do not start. If you can name one, consume it with that context, active, and schedule the implementation before you finish. Knowledge without a deployment date is a debt you will never repay. Pattern 5. The synthesis. Avoidance. The most cognitively expensive activity in information processing is synthesis, taking disparate inputs and building original frameworks from them. It is also the activity that produces the highest leverage. Original synthesis is where insight lives. It is where the thinking that separates the top 1% from everyone else actually happens. And it is exactly what most smart people avoid. Why? Because synthesis requires stillness. It requires tolerating the discomfort of an unresolved question. It requires sitting with uncertainty long enough for a pattern to emerge. Consuming is easy. Thinking is hard. And the brain, under conditions of stimulus availability, will always choose the easier path. This is cognitive path dependency. Your brain builds grooves. If the groove is reach for the phone, it will reach for the phone every time the discomfort of original thought begins. The top 1% protect synthesis time the way surgeons protect their hand. Your counter move. Schedule a minimum of 30 minutes daily as a protected synthesis window. No input. No consumption. One question, written on paper. What do I actually think about this? Write the answer in your own words, not copied, not summarized. Your own formulation. This is where your intelligence actually compounds. Now connect all 5 patterns and you will see the root. The completeness trap, the novelty addiction, the source promiscuity, the consumption action inversion, the synthesis avoidance. They all share a single origin. You have confused acquisition with understanding. You believe that having information is the same as knowing what to do with it. It is not. It has never been. And in an era where information is infinite and free, The gap between acquisition and understanding is the only competitive advantage left. The person who reads less but thinks harder wins every time. Information laundering is not about becoming ignorant. It is about becoming precise. The top 1% are not better informed than you. They are more ruthless about what they allow to claim their attention, and more disciplined about converting what remains into action. Your intelligence is not your bottleneck. Your inputs are. In the next episode, we go deeper into the mechanism that makes information laundering possible, and why it is becoming impossible for most people to access it. The top performers in every field, the ones who produce the ideas that others spend years trying to catch up to share. One counterintuitive habit that looks, from the outside, like weakness. They disappear. They go quiet. They go alone. And in that silence, they do something that no team, no brainstorming session, no collaborative workspace can replicate. If that sounds like something you need to understand, you already know what to do.